welcome to the Zoom Racing League Division 1 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. While we're used to seeing the Yas Marina circuit to be the theater of spectacular season finales, tonight it is round 5 of our Division 1 Championship. This new layout changes the main characteristics for this race by removing some extra technical corners, thus increasing the overall speed of the track, and with it, the overtaking opportunities. 3.28 miles long, 16 corners, and with the infamous double DRS zones between turns 5 and 9, I expect a lot of high-speed chases and a lot of high-speed overtakes to be done on this track. I'm here in the booth with my good old friend Nathan Doan. Nathan, welcome. We're just about to have a couple drivers starting out on their outlaps. Actually, speaking of the first driver on his outlap is our brand new driver in Alpine, Retrograde, as we see on the screen, otherwise known as Dane Clem. So, as we'll go on board with him, just watch him do his warm-up lap. How are the standing updates going, Nathan?
Right, so we'll start with the driver's standings. We have Cody Lawrence, of course, coming off of a good result from his last round. Second place got him to 26 points ahead of Eric Cavallo, who's in second place. And then right behind Eric is Marc-Olivier Bastien, 10 points behind. Then we have the Alpine. The Alpine. I don't know if that's correct on there, but the Alpine of Quinton K. That might be a new trade that we'll talk about later.
Should be the Williams, actually. Cam Bourne's in the Alpine.
Yeah, that is interesting. That it would be it'd be the Alpine. Wait, it is the Alpine of Quinton K. So that is correct. All right. Well, sorry for that. After that, we have Aaron Altmaier, then Jakub Karsiewicz. No, I think. Yeah, we'll keep going. Then we have our pretty recently added driver for Red Bull, Chad Swindell. He is in 8th place, so good run from him just for 2 races in appearance, double podium in 2 races. Then we have Philemon Goulet, Marcel Paps, Luc Locklear, Ryan Noon, Hector Ochoa, Maxime Bolio, Peter Giordano, Magnuson Cube, Carl Blevins, Logan Dukes, and Retrograde or Dane Clem, as he's known. Okay, we'll go to constructors here real quick. We have Mercedes in the lead, 18 points ahead of Red Bull. Then we have Alfa Romeo 1 point behind Red Bull in 3rd place. Then we have Haas with 117 points, good showing from the American team. Then we have Williams in 5th, Aston Martin in 6th, Alpine in 7th, McLaren 8th, Ferrari 9th, and AlphaTauri 10th. So I was informed before this race that we'd have Ethan Patel come on here, and he wanted to discuss something that we were a bit confused about while I was going through the standings. We have Quinton K now in the Alpine, so I'm going to let Ethan know that we're ready for him, and we'll talk about that trade, because it is a big trade. Quinton K is a man I still have favorited for maybe even a potential championship win this season, and it's going to be interesting to see now that he's switched teams how it's going to affect, maybe some tensions in between the grid. But I'll have all those answers, not from myself, but from Mr. Ethan Patel, Alpine team principal. Welcome, Ethan.
Hey, what's up? What has changed?
Thank
A lot has changed.
For coming here, Ethan, by the way. I'm just going to raise your volume a tad bit so everybody can hear you properly. There you go. Go ahead, Nathan.
Alright, so, we didn't even know about this, until we were going through the standings, but yeah, a lot has changed, as you said, but that is because Mr. Quinton K is in the Alpine instead of Cam Bourne. So walk us through a bit, were you always looking for Quinton K, or was it just a sudden trade, and now you're happy with this man here?
Well, so last week, I told you I was happy with the team, and I was. I'm set on Cam Bourne, and had a great start to the season. And, we were going to get Retrograde because, we didn't have a second driver, so Retrograde was coming in anyways. But then apparently Quinton was unhappy at Williams and requested out. Garrett came to me with his trade, and I just couldn't refuse a race winner in Quinton. So had to make that move, and we're going to try to push up the constructors.
A spectacular move spectacular trade on that one. The main question I've got for you, Ethan, is how did Cam Bourne take this one?
It was really tough because he got us the podium versus Singapore, and he was friends with Retrograde. But it was just like he wanted to be here, but he also understood that Quinton is it was more like it wasn't Camborne didn't do anything wrong. It's more Quentin was just better. Like had just done everything right at that point, and it was too good of an offer to refuse.
Right. So I mean, with that, I mean, maybe it's just some unshown tension. Do you think we'll have any like tension in between Camborne and your current drivers now? Maybe Camborne will try to impress the new team principal that he's with. But yeah, something like that. But
I
my
don't think John.
my main question is just, do you have any insight of why Quinton K was unhappy at Williams?
I'm just Williams are a terrible team. I mean they don't do anything, right? Like they're bottom feeders. They're terrible. Garrett is the worst TP in this league, so it's pretty clear why he doesn't want to be there.
No comment for me.
All right, very insightful, Ethan Patel, with some um, very interesting comments. I'll say it like that. Yeah. So, what are your expectations now that you've traded for Quentin K, and now you have Retrograde as well, who's currently in a top 10 position. You probably have two drivers easily in the top 7-6 positions. When we look again at the constructors, we're seeing Alpine a little bit. I mean, you guys are sitting P7 and the constructors, right? I've got them up on the screen right now. 10 points behind Aston Martin, and Williams was actually ahead of you guys in P5. So, what is your expectations towards Alpine for the constructors by the end of the season?
The goal is P5. We had a rough start due to not having really a second driver. Major Catherine was just not on pace. He understood that, and so it was basically a one-man show. Now that we have two very competent drivers, and taking away Williams's main source of points in Division One, definitely could push up to P5. Haas gonna be hard with Era, and they already have like a big lead, so we're fighting back, obviously, and so it's gonna be difficult, but we could push up for P5, maybe even P4.
All right, super interesting. Thank you, Ethan, for your time. Ethan Patel, team principal at Alpine. We're going to go back here and focus on the qualifying currently, as most drivers run out on the first banker laps here, and we'll be seeing the times dwindle down a little bit. Nathan, how is the weather coming along? I know Abu Dhabi is usually dry. Is there any surprises tonight, weather-wise?
Well, Labib himself has informed me, and he's not telling me about any rain. So I think we'll have dry here. I mean, it would be, like you said, a very big shock if we didn't.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that is the case. But I was thinking about it. Major Castleman, and the time I spent with him as a teammate, he provided a great technical aspect of a team, right? He had all the setups, he had all of the, he was almost like a track guide person kind of too. And I'm wondering, with Alpine losing out on now Major Castleman, unless he is an engineer now, I don't know if he is, but if he isn't, then I'd assume that they lost a major technical aspect of their team. Like, they may be struggling with setups now. I mean, I hope they have it down, because they deserve decent positions, but yeah, it's just Major Castleman. He was a great help in the team, so without him, I just hope Alpine can do well now.
Yeah, and that's such a major play, and I think Abu Dhabi is one of those tracks where a proper setup could really make a huge difference compared to other drivers, And I think, as you're saying, the Major Castleman had a significant role in that respect before an Alpine. And I mean, we already know a couple drivers on this on the grid are like that, right? I think personally, my experience in Aston Martin with Aaron Altmaier providing usually very good setups week in and week out, and so those kind of guys are crucial to a team. You could have really fast drivers, right? But if you don't put them in the right setup, or you don't have the right input, it's two different things. You have drivers out there in ZRL that are better, technically better at setting up a car than driving it, while others, it's the complete opposite. They're better at driving it than having themselves a setup, and so it's an interesting. It's a key part of a team to have at least that one guy that is able to provide setup input. And you could go online and go find those esports setups, and I know some guys even pay a little bit of money to get those esports setups and whatnot, right? But I mean, each driver have a different style, and you gotta tune the setup to your style of driving too. And so, not if you don't know what you're doing with the car setups, it could put you in trouble on track. And I think Abu Dhabi is one of those tracks where, Sector 1 and Sector 2 are very, very rapid paced, right? We got the double DRS, the double straight line speed, so guys will be wanting to do their overtakes there, get the low downforce setups. But then you come into Sector 3, that becomes very technical and very difficult to keep the car on track if you don't have the proper setup, because there's a little bit of elevation changes throughout turns 14 to 16. That could really throw somebody off track, and not to mention turns 2, 3s, and well, actually turns 2 and 3, right? That left and right-handed, a long right-hander of turn 3 after the beginning of the race, I think in Division 3. I don't know if you saw that, Nathan, but that was absolutely chaotic with the race start. I think in Division 2 there was some moments there you could really lose a car, and we might be seeing that kind of thing happening here in Division 1 as well.
Yeah, I mean, with the elevation changes, it definitely makes it a bit harder than normal corners. Like a left-right is like that is nothing for an F1 car, but when you add a bit of elevation, maybe a bad setup and cold tires, it's very easy to spin there. So we don't want to see any drivers spinning there. But I think with just how difficult this track is, like it's been voiced that this track is the worst for many drivers here. With the difficulties that comes with, I think that we may still see a few spinners here.
Yeah, we should expect a safety car during this race, despite this being a Division 1. I'm actually surprised in Division 3 with the hectic start they had, there was no safety car, so we'll see what happens with that. But this is a wide track and offers a lot of overtaking opportunities, and we're going to see that throughout the entirety of the race. All right, Nathan, let's get back and focus to our qualifying here. We've got about 5 minutes to go, and Chad Swindell, who was a podium sitter last race at his debut racing with Red Bull, has now set a 122.5, and that puts him in provisional pole right in front of Eric Cavallo at 122.8. P3, we had a race ban last week in the Williams, Ryan Newton at 122.9, and retrograde Dane Clem in the Alpine is currently sitting P4 at a 122.9, and the top 4 drivers are below the 123s. Marc-Olivier Bastien follows suit in P5. Luke Locklear, who is back in the Ferrari seat, is now in P7. Somebody just bumped a couple drivers down. That is Quinton K, who's just bumped down Ryan Newton and retrograde. So Quinton K, and that's going to be confusing for me to seeing him in an Alpine and the different shade of blue. Cam Bourne is in P14 there with the Williams. Maxime Beaulieu, look at the Aston Martins. Maxime Beaulieu and Aaron Altmaier are P8 and P10, which is way better than their previous qualifying performances so far. With 4 minutes to go, though, Cody Lawrence, he's currently sitting P10, but a 123.1. He did mention last weekend it was not his best track. I'm assuming he's maybe holding out a bit. I don't know if he's going to have time to come out to do another lap, or he's just going to be waiting. No, he's going to be waiting it down to the 3 minute mark, about the 2 minutes and a half mark, to try to go out for the final lap.
Yeah, I mean, right now with this qualifying session, it just really impresses me that, someone can be 3/10 clear at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
In Division 1, we expect it to be tight, and it is very tight between these drivers. I mean, we go from P2 to, let's say, P12, and it's only about 5/10 that separates that entire pack of cars. And it's just, incredible caliber of drivers here. But I don't know, right now, Chad Swindell is really standing out at the moment. And we need to take note that is not his last lap. He has time for one more lap, and I think with the pace he's showing right now, we could be seeing a definite pole position from him today.
Yeah, most definitely. He's showing some really decent pace right there. Just want to go through real quick. I'm looking at the Division 1 attendance. And so Cal Blevins, you've seen him earlier retire. He's currently sitting P19. Well, technically it should be P20 once Marcel Pabst puts a lap in. He is serving a qualifying ban for the accumulation of penalty points so far this season. And so Cal Blevins is not going to be qualifying. He will be starting the race in P20. Not the greatest of seasons so far for the AlphaTauri driver. struggling a little bit, but if there's a driver that's got potential to bring it back in, it's definitely him. In Ferrari, you'll notice we have Luke Locklear that is here. Peter Giordano, the team principal of Ferrari, is absent. It is Simon Carlson who is reserving for him in his place. Simon Carlson, who is a driver in Division 2. Do you remember? I know you're rival Nathan in Division 2. Is he with Mercedes still?
Yeah, he's with
Normal?
Mercedes. He was kind of our rival, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's given us a lot of trouble back all last season. It was just, yeah, he's a great driver, but at the moment, the times that he's putting in, it's not very representative of his true pace. I think he went quite a bit faster than he is right now, but we'll have to see what he can do. It's on his out lap, as many other cars are. At the moment, I think our only car on a hot lap is Alvarez.
Yeah, he's on
Alvarez,
currently.
but he's just invalidated, actually.
Yeah, he just invalidated, and you just saw that a little bit of a wiggle of frustration there. So he's gonna try to see if he could try to go for. I don't know if he's got enough fuel to go out for another little lap, and so I think that'll be it for him. Alvarez, who's actually reserving as well for McLaren tonight in replacement of Logan Dukes. And a final reserve, Colin Edwards, which we've seen him reserving in Division 1 before last weekend. He actually had a really respectable race. He's currently in P12 with a 123.3, and he is replacing Philemon Goulet, the French-Canadian, in the Alfa Romeo. And yeah, it looks like Alvarez is going to go for another fast lap, and I don't know if he's got enough battery to pull it through, nor the tire wear, but he's going to try to go at it. And so most drivers on their fast lap now are going... Oh, that is it for Alvarez. Alvarez completely spins it in turn 3. And so he will not be able to improve on his time. So the best he'll be finishing is P18 so far. Let's hop on board here with Luke Locklear, who is the first of the drivers to begin their final fast laps here. Nathan, Luke is the kind of driver who's got a lot of weight on his shoulders currently at Ferrari.
Yeah, I mean, very technical driver. He brings a lot to the setup. My game might have just crashed. Not back. So I'll talk us through this lap here. We're on the second straight now. DRS, you want to see very close to the left-hand side. You'll gain an advantage. I'm not really sure why, because Codemasters. Then we go into this kind of banked left-hander. It was replacing the chicane that was there back in 2020. Yeah, 2020. Then you get on the power quite early, and then you take this corner quite wide because you don't want to hit the bump on the middle. Then very short right-hander into a left-hander, and you want to stay steady on the throttle through this series of left-handers, as Luke Locklear has just done. Then a very flat-out right-hander here, and almost spinning it. Luke Locklear, that might have cost him some time as he went through the final corner, and the time across the line is a 1:23.107. Aaron Altmaier just jumped that with a 1:23.0. And we have quite a lot of fast people on, amazing. We have the Red Bull of Jakub Karstowicz, who has not improved his time. I believe Maxine Q did improve his time, but not enough to get a good position. We have the man who I've been looking for all session long. It's Chad Swindell. He's coming across the final corner now. This is a fast lap, but he spins on the last corner. So it's up to just a few men to dislodge his pole position. Ryan Noon has not done it. Can people like Eric Cavallio do it? No, they can't. Retrograde goes third, not enough to thwart Chad Swindell's pole position. The last man on a lap is none other than Hector Ochoa, and he does not take away pole position from Chad Swindell.
That is it.
Yeah, we have a pole position from a man who's only started 3 times in Zoom Racing League. What a representative performance for the Red Bull man. I mean, replacing Hudson Poole, it's not like Hudson Poole was bad or anything, but I'd say Chad Swindell is a perfect replacement for a driver who left at such a weird time.
That's a lot of pressure for Chad Swindell, Sweeney G as they call him, in the pit lane, and he gets pole position nearly 2 tenths above Ryan Newton. And what a performance for the Williams driver of Ryan Newton. Retrograde, Dane Clem in the Alpine puts it P3 at a 122.8. Eric Cavallo in the Haas is P4. Quentin K is P5. And so you got 2 Alpines at the top 5, and so Ethan Patel is surely very satisfied with that. Cody Lawrence, the current championship leader, will be starting the race in P6, and we're gonna have in just a second the rest of the grid that's going to be run down here. Marc-Olivier Bastien, the Alfa Romeo P7, followed by Aaron Altmaier P8, Hector Ochoa, Luke Locklear, Maxime Beaulieu, Colin Edwards, the reserve driver for Alfa Romeo, Jakub Karswich in P13, Cam Bourne, newly traded to Williams, hits at P14, Magnussen Cuban, the AlphaTauri P15, Simon, another reserve driver, P16. We have Wayden, who I believe is the new driver for Haas, who is in P17, Alvarez P18, Kyle Blevins P19, and Marcel Paps in P20. So Kyle Blevins, despite having a qualifying ban, is starting P20 from the looks of it. Marcel Paps never even put in a lap, and he doesn't have a ban, so I wonder what's up with that.
I have no words for that, honestly.
Yeah,
but
it's one of those
time
kind
for
of
the race
things
now.
that happen. Yeah, definitely. We're going to be focused on the race in just a minute. And we'll have the classic T-pose view of our mechanics. And like I usually tell everybody, it's time to open yourself a cold one. It's time to get the snacks. Nathan Doan, I know you got your Doritos going for tonight.
Oh yeah.
Attaboy,
You got your beer tonight?
Oh yeah, I've got my beer, but it's already open. I can't do the noise anymore.
Nah,
Oh,
just like flick the can or something.
Absolutely. That's okay. I got some Mountain Dew on the side. 20 seconds to go. The drivers are prepping for the race. Let's not forget, this is it's one of the reasons I kind of enjoy Abu Dhabi as a venue, because you start the race. You don't have the first stars out there in the skies, right? You got the sun that's just setting, and by the end of the race, it'll be full dark with the fireworks at the conclusion of the race. And so here we go. The drivers are lining up on the grid. Look at this beautiful view we have here. It is Chad Swindle and Ryan Newton on the front row. The lights are out and away we go. The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix is on its way, and it looks like Ryan Newton gets the jump, and he's going to go into P1. He overtakes Chad Swindle in turn 1. What a great launch from Ryan Newton and the Williams. When was the last time we saw Williams at the front, at the P1 in Division 1, followed by Chad Swindle, Eric Cavallo? There's an incident in the back, I believe, or... yeah, it looks like Luke Locklear lost a couple positions there, and he's fighting in the midst of it. Marc-Olivier Bastien gains a position on Hector Ochoa, and so far, not too many incidents. And down the first straight of towards turn 6 we go. There's going to be the first chicane, and first chicane is usually the source of quite a couple incidents. Let's go look at which tires these guys went on. The entirety of the grid is on hard tires, so expect the hard to medium strategies to go about. And while we're looking at this early race, so it looks like there's an incident in the back, and that is Colin Edwards in the Alfa Romeo. I don't know if he's got some damage, but he looks like maybe has made some contact. There's a bit of a wing there that's in the back there on the track. I think that's the wing of Simon.
No, it's from Jakub Karswich in the Red Bull.
Oh, it's the Red Bull missing a piece of wing there, the end plate. And so he should be pitting for a wing replacement already in lap 1, and that is not what you want. Especially not in Red Bull with the pressure that is on them currently. And so Ryan Newton is about 4/10 up above, and that is the first lap concluded. Ryan Newton in P1, followed by Chad Swindle. Eric Cavallo's in P3. Retrograde is in P4. Cody Lawrence getting a position P5. Quentin K P6. Marc-Olivier Bastien, Hector Ochoa, Maxime Beaulieu, and Aaron Altmaier, both Aston Martins, as we've seen season in and season out, following each other closely with one behind another, and allowing themselves to go for the team plays there. As these drivers are starting, and we're going to have DRS being available starting next lap. Nathan, what is the strategy to be expected? When will these guys be looking to be pitting for the medium tires?
Well, the undercut is actually quite strong here, and the normal pit lap is around lap 16, lap 15, so we might see some drivers pitting even lap 14 to try and get an undercut. The advantage you get from an undercut, if I remember correctly, is about 1.5 seconds, so still quite strong of an undercut. But right now, I don't really think it's about the tires. That's not the strategy we have to be worrying about. Right now, we're seeing a masterclass right now from Chad Swindell, managing his battery far better than the people around him at the moment. He's got 86% when drivers around him are at the likes of 80, 50, 60, all around the place. But the only man who's matched his battery performance so far is his direct rival in the title race. It is Cody Lawrence, and he's made up one position so far. He's going to need to make up quite a few more if he wants to keep his momentum going. We see Ryan Newton take another fastest lap, but how long will Ryan Newton be able to stay in front? As we see now, DRS is enabled, so it's all very crucial to how Chad Swindell wants to attack Ryan Newton here. He's got 90% battery. He's got quite an advantage. He uses a bit on exit just to get a bit more of that advantage. But he's around 4 tenths behind Ryan Newton right now. He goes into the corner just a bit odd, and that's not really the way you want to be taking it. But he's going now. He's deployed a bit of the battery on the first part of the straight. Ryan Newton, I don't think he's used any, but it will not be this corner that as Chad Swindell will be overtaking Ryan Newton. But the question is, will he be able to overtake into the next corner here? He gets quite a decent exit. He does go on the battery. He is on the DRS now, as is Ryan Newton. He's inching closer. I don't think he'll make it though, as Sierra Alvarez gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting.
And it's already a 3-second time penalty. It is very possible to get some here. It's very, especially around the chicanes, if you're trying to cut the track a little bit. But because of the speed of the track, you don't want to be getting time penalties, because that is super important here. We're early in the race, right? But Division 1 has us used to this now. We're gonna have quite a long. It's a DRS straight from P1 down to P17, right? I'm not seeing in the intervals anybody that is a second away from a driver, and so that makes overtaking that much more difficult. Usually the overtaking happens when you've got DRS compared to your driver in front. But if the driver in front of you also has DRS, the only thing left to use is your battery. And your driver up front also has the battery power that he could use to defend. And so that's what I was saying earlier, the importance of a setup. Will the lower downforce setups be even more crucial here, as we're seeing the time swindle between Ryan Newton and Chad Swindell. And so look at that. It was about 5 tenths away from him on the first straight, and here is only 3 tenths away. It looks like better exit from Ryan Newton. I don't know if it's because he's using the battery fits the lower rear wing there, but so far it takes a while for Chad to be able to get up to speed with the Williams, and by the time they get, looks like, what the heck did I just see? Okay, I don't know if I'm the only one that just saw that. I thought Ryan Newton was crashing or completely losing it, but looks like, yeah, we had a little bit of desync there. I don't know if you saw the same thing I did, Nathan.
I did see the same thing, and that's not really what you want to be seeing when we're this early into a race. If there's any problems, we'd want to catch them now, but as it goes so far, the race will continue as it should at the moment, and Chad Swindell is still hanging on to Ryan Newton at the moment. A lot more battery now. The battery advantage that he's been saving is finally starting to maybe pay off for him, but that exit of the chicane, I believe it's turns 5 and 6,
Yep.
He really needs to improve his exit right there, because he's taking a bit wide. He's going a bit too deep into the second part of that chicane, I'd say, and that's what's really costing him a chance at overtaking Ryan Newton in the second straight. So unless he wants to keep on going with that method, he's going to have to overtake here, and he's looking very close to doing so. Will he dive down the inside? It looks like he just wants to tempt Ryan Newton in just a little bit to go wide. Does not do so. Gets about the same exit as he has before. Ryan Newton not going on the battery yet, but Chad Swindell is on the battery. It looks like he's going to go on the outside for this overtake, dumping his battery around the outside, clean as you'd like. Ryan Newton is now second place. We have a new race leader. Chad Swindell is back into the lead from his pole position.
What's going to be important to hear for Chad is he's going to want to have to increase his gap as quick as possible in comparison to Ryan Newton, because the same thing could happen next lap. And now, I was just about to say, while you were describing the whole moment there, we're used to seeing Ryan being the attacker and not the defender. And now he's in a position where he's much more used to being in this position, is to be the attacker. So here he is in P2. He's got the Red Bull in front of him. He's going to be focused on him. But look at who's right behind him. It is Eric Cavallo with, once again, really solid performance from him. And I think as the season's just going, this is the guy who's been gaining pace over the last 4 rounds. And with him being the latest race winner, I wouldn't count him out for another race win tonight. One guy maybe a little bit more surprised to see in P5, and he's got to play the patient game and not let himself get too much into his head, is Cody Lawrence. Cody Lawrence in the Mercedes we're used to see him fighting usually for the top positions, and now he's in P5. It's not a bad position for him at all, but he goes a little bit too deep on the turn 6. Much better exit on turn 7 here. And yeah, he's got a guy that's gonna have to make a couple moves now if he wants to go up on the standings. And with the lack of options being DRS and batteries and whatnot, I think the next thing you got to look at and have a discussion with your engineer is, when do you pit? You mentioned it earlier. Usually the usual pit stop is between laps 15 and 17, but we might be seeing guys pitting as early lap 14 to try to get the undercut going.
Yeah, with the expected undercut, the gap that you gain from the undercut, he'd be in second position right now, so it's going to be very crucial to Cody Lawrence's race when he pits. And I believe sooner or later we'll have Carl Behrens in here actually to try and give us some insight on that. But at the moment, it's just keep a calm head for Cody Lawrence right now. He's got plenty more battery than the 2 drivers ahead of him at the moment. But right now, he doesn't really look like using it. I know he's a driver that kind of tends to use it once he starts making mistakes. You know, if he goes a bit too wide on a corner, he starts to deploy some battery just to regain the advantage that he had lost. We might be seeing some of that, but hopefully he doesn't make too many mistakes. Last lap we saw him go quite a bit deep into this chicane, but I wonder if that's a strategy. You know, sacrifice one corner to improve the exit of another, and just, you know, something like that would be helpful to make overtakes here. But right now he's got to gain a bit more gap to, it looks like he actually got like stopped on the curb for a moment there. That dropped his advantage a little bit. But yeah, just keep a calm head for Cody Lawrence right now. He's still got a bit of pressure behind him, but so does every driver going down to P17.
Yeah, I remember the last time we saw so many drivers have DRS there. It looks like the top 8 is kind of breaking away a little bit. Maxime Beaulier's just fallen over a second behind Vector Ochoa in a Mercedes, and we're seeing Marcel Paps in P14, who's actually gained quite a number of positions, having started in P20 from not posting a lap in the qualifying. And so Marcel Paps has gained 6 positions, and is probably our driver. Let's take a look at it real quick. Yeah, he is our driver who's gained the most positions. Cal Blevins, who's behind him, has gained 4 positions, and so that is good racing for them both. Unfortunately for Colin Edwards, Simon Colston, and Jakub Karsiewicz, who've lost 6, 3, and 7 positions respectively, it's not the race they wanted to have, the race start they wanted to have, but there's still 22 laps to go, and anything could happen, such as a very late safety car. We've seen that happen already in Abu Dhabi in real life, and so this could happen here too.
Yeah, I don't want any flashbacks from Division 1 though. Already got enough from that fateful night. But at the moment, I mean, I was thinking about it. You know, Abu Dhabi is a place where actually, with this game, a safety car is quite unlikely. You know, if you're to DNF, it'd probably be at the very long left hairpin of turn 7, I think it is. And if you were to spin there, you'd probably spin quite far off the track, which wouldn't cause a safety car like it would in real life. So if there's any place that would cause a safety car if you crashed, it would be this turn and these few turns that Chad Swindell is going through right now. If you had a little bit of a Latifi moment and crash out there, then it would probably definitely take out the safety car. But other than that, those are the only few positions that I would see you causing a safety car, unless you were to, you know, violently bounce off the wall and back onto the track. So maybe a safety car isn't too likely, but I think we've seen a few already in Zoom Racing League this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're right. You know, I think having reserved the race for Division 3, there was quite a number of incidents happening early in the race. Some guys completely losing it in turn 3, and so that should have caused a safety car. I was totally expecting a safety car to happen there, and it didn't. So it looks like in regards to the game, if you crash outside of the track limits, which is quite a lot of runoff area on both sides, well, that might be one of the reasons why you don't get a safety car triggered. Either way, there's not a lot of positions changed. Having a little bit of a flashback to Zandvoort, and I was expecting maybe a little bit more wheel-to-wheel action or dive bombings and the chicanes quite early in this race. It looks like the Division 1 drivers currently are just going to play the patient game and be careful about not ruining anybody's race, right? And it's so crucial in Division 1, where you're seeing the drivers that are in the back of the pack. it's very difficult for them to catch the rest of the drivers. I'm talking about Colin Edwards, Simon, and Jakub Karsiewicz. So they're on their own a little bit, not really doing much. We're seeing Simon and Colin Edwards having a little bit of a race on their own. Jakub Karsiewicz is completely alone for since he's had to change his wing for mediums. Well, he had to change his wing and pit for mediums, is what I meant to say. So other than that, look at these drivers just following each other, not depleting their batteries completely. Swindell is doing great in ERS management. So is Newton and Carvello. We're only really seeing retrograde here. Dane Clem, who's kind of been using it a little bit more, trying to maybe have a peek at Eric Cavallo, wanting to get into the podium positions. But other than that, the drivers, most other drivers are not using it as much. Quentin Kay's using a little bit more than expected. Hector as well. Oh, Maxim Bolio. Well, Maxim is trying to stay within the DRS train, and he's lost it, and so that puts him in a vulnerable position. There was a very temporary Sector 3 flag, I believe, and that was a spin from Jakub Karsiewicz that puts him 25 seconds away from P19, and so that is that's an interesting point of view for Red Bulls. You got a driver leading the race, and the other one who's somewhere on the track, nowhere near any of the other drivers.
Yeah, at the moment, not a lot of overtakes happening, as you have said. I think what we really need to do is just wait for the field to kind of break up a bit. At the moment, I think the closest thing we'd see to an overtake soon is the two Aston Martin swapping positions. Aaron Altmaier is, at the moment, a bit faster than Maxime Berlioz, and Maxime, I think, just got another warning. And Maxime also has a bit less battery than Aaron, so it'd be logical to swap positions unless Maxime can pick up the pace here. But other than that, that's the only wheel-to-wheel action we'll probably see for quite a while. I mean, Ryan Newman has lost the DRS advantage on Chad Swindell, so unless Eric can close up, which I think he might actually be able to, he saved a bit more of his battery, unlike retrograde. I think there's a lot of drivers that we just need to wait to either slow down or speed up a bit, just to kind of break up the field. Maybe we'll see some overtakes. From what I'm seeing right now, it looks like Mercedes is running quite a low downforce setup. I guess I actually do know what the setup is, and relatively, I'd say it's pretty standard aero. I think he won't be gaining too much advantage, but he's definitely on the battery now. Will he be going for the overtake on retrograde around the outside? Will he stick it around the outside? It looks like he wants to, but that Alpine is trying to push him off the track, but does not do so. And now Cody Lawrence has pushed his way into a fourth position. So great job from the Mercedes driver around the outside. Very brave to keep it around, especially with the corner that has so little traction. But now that is only a very small part of Cody Lawrence's journey back to the top of the table at the moment. So right now, Cody Lawrence has got arguably a very, very quick driver. Will he be able to catch Mr. Eric Avalio in time?
Yeah, that was a great move from him, and I think retrograde, the fact that he doesn't have that much battery left, he had to kind of settle for the Mercedes overtaking him. And so retrograde started in podium position at P3 with a splendid qualifying lap, finds himself P5, losing 2 positions, and we're a little bit almost halfway through lap 12, and so I think this driver is starting to think maybe a little bit about pitting now. And look at this, retrograde, who trying to keep up with Cody as much as possible. He's completely dumped his ERS here. And so I think Cody is starting to get a little bit on the move. You're seeing him getting a little bit more aggressive on the battery. Eric Cavallo thought he had a moment where he could catch up to Ryan Newton a lot more easily, because he had lost the DRS to Chad Swindell. But look at him, he's back within 7/10 of the Red Bull in P1, and so the DRS train just reconnects on the top there. But now we have a DRS train with only the top 5 drivers. Quentin Kay, the other driver in the Alpine, who's also using a lot more ERS than expected, and that may be due to lower downforce setups. Higher downforce setups. Is battling to try to keep within DRS of his teammate doing Clem in P5, and that's not happening. That may leave him vulnerable to a much more patient Marc-Olivier Bastien, the Alfa Romeo, who's just using ERS a little bit to keep up with him, and we're going to see some movements happening. So when the DRS trains start to break up, and you called it, Nathan, right? When the DRS trains start to break up, we're going to see these drivers who don't have DRS in front of them, and they will be the most vulnerable. And what we're seeing currently, we're seeing multiple drivers happening or having that experience. When you try to empty your ERS and dump all your battery power to catch up with the DRS train and it doesn't work, that leaves you completely vulnerable for the driver behind. And we're going to see one vulnerable driver get overtaken there by Marc-Olivier Bastien, exactly as predicted. And so Quentin K drops to P7, and that is 2 positions lost for him as well. So both Alpines respectfully starting P3 and P5 fall to P5 and P7. And now Marc-Olivier Bastien P6, and now he's going to be looking at the next Alpine of Dane Clem in P5. And we're used to seeing Marc-Olivier Bastien in the top 5 normally. Wouldn't be surprised he makes a move work eventually, but currently Dane Clem has got DRS on Cody Lawrence in front of him.
Yeah, right now I think we might be seeing our first pitter, and it is none other than the man who just made a move for 6th position is Marc-Olivier Bastien. He's been on the battery, and he's on the battery right now. He's going very aggressive on the battery. Will he pit now? No, he won't, but he has used quite a bit of his battery, so I wonder, was that just to stay within the 1 second gap for the DRS advantage? If it was, then it's worked quite well, because Retrograde ahead of him does not have the battery that he needs to defend or attack at the moment, so he's going to be at a bit more of a disadvantage than the drivers around him. But now Marc-Olivier Bastien has actually dropped down to a bit lower battery than the car ahead of him. So we saw another driver who might be vulnerable now. He was out of the DRS for a bit, then he went back in it, and now he's quite far out of it. It's Ryan Noon in P2, 36% battery. Era's got 50. I think if Era wants to pit, I'd say he either does it this lap so he's not being held up by Ryan Noon anymore. I don't think that the traffic that he pits in will be too crucial, because I don't know, it's quite spread out, this field at the moment. I think he'd probably end up behind Simon Colston at the moment. But yeah, right now it's either overtake in the next lap or pit this lap. So that is the case for Eric Carvalho right now. Cody Lawrence, pretty similar story, I would say. If he wants to undercut, he'd probably pit now, maybe get the jump on the 2 cars ahead of him. We just seen the 2 Aston Martins swapping positions, and Quinton K actually gets a time penalty. We've seen him get time penalties in the future, and just has a bit of a wheel spin moment as well. Struggling just a little bit, but we have no pitters from the top 8 so far.
The drivers will be thinking about the pit strategy. They're probably going to start doing so now, and so normally between lap 15 and lap 17 is where the majority of the pits will be happening for the hard tire runners. As you mentioned it, Ryan Newton has fallen significantly behind Chad Swindell, and I don't know if he had a little bit of a moment. He's 1.7 seconds away. And there's a moment
Luke
in the back.
Locklear is out of the
Luke
session.
Locklear. Yeah, Luke Locklear is a DNF. I'm going to try to see if I could catch.
Full safety car.
And that is a full safety car. 3. Oh my goodness. And
Huge
Locklear,
incident from Luke Locklear.
Yeah, there was. The incident happened with another driver. I saw another driver who looked like he slowed down with him. I don't know if he just had an impact or he lost it. But that is a DNF for Luke Locklear. That's also a DNF for Alvarez, by the way. So Alvarez is a reserve driver in a McLaren.
He's retarding in the pit.
He's retarding in the pit, yeah, and his AI looks like he's... I don't know what his AI is doing. It looks like he's barely out of the tunnel section and stopped there. Anyways, now we have a full safety car, and the first person in the pits who's probably going to benefit from this is Jakub Karswich, and now he's going to go on the medium tires. Looks like he has a second set of medium tires. He's going to be looking to go 14 laps on those mediums. I think that's maybe a little bit far-fetched, but he'll definitely be able to do so. And
yeah, I think
we're going to have a pit race on track right now. I think the biggest losers of this now is going to be the 2 Aston Martins. They're so close together. I don't think they'll be able to double stack, so somebody's got to stay out. Oh, it's maybe another 3-second time penalty for Quinton. No.
That might be removed, though, as we have heard of bugs in the past with the pit lane here in Abu Dhabi. The Mercedes, the Hector Ochoa, bit of a disadvantage for double stacking. Hasn't lost too much out of it, but I think I do know what happened with Luke Locklear and the other man that we have to look at. It was none other than Cam Bourne, newly transferred to Williams. He has no front wing, as we can see the Williams team replacing it right now. So I would assume that maybe either Camborne lost the wing on impact with the wall because he was quite slow with Luke Locklear kind of driving past his broken car. But yeah, huge incident for the Ferrari. I mean, we've talked about it. We were talking about how turn 3 could be a very easy corner to lose it, and maybe Luke Locklear lost it in front of Camborne and they made contact and it was just unavoidable. But we really never know. But yeah, unfortunate for both drivers. Camborne losing a lot of positions now that he had to change his front wing, but not what you want to see from either of the two drivers.
Yeah, definitely bad luck for Luke Locklear, who does not have any luck so far this season in the Ferrari. And if we go look at the driver standings real quick, he's currently sitting P11, and that will not give him any points tonight either. And so he might drop a couple positions, especially if Ryan Newton finishes in the top 3 and where he's racing currently. And now everything has to be redone from the beginning, right? Disadvantages. The drivers who were further in the back, Colin Edwards, Jakub Karsowicz, and etc., who are able to join the pack once again, right? This is definitely a blessing in disguise for the Red Bull driver, the secondary Red Bull driver. But for everybody in front, especially some guys who are thinking of making some moves, I'm thinking about Marc-Henri Bastien and Cody Lawrence, Eric Cavallo, and Ryan Newton. Well, now Ryan Newton is going to have the DRS again on Chad Swindell. And the timing of the incident is interestingly put directly in it's a perfect timing for the pit strategy. So there's no alternative strategies. I'm just looking. There's Simon Costin, who is
pitting now.
He's pitting now, so he couldn't do the double stack. This is a horrendous moment for Ferrari. So Luke Locklear pits out of the he's actually the victim of the of a crash or an impact or whatever happened there. He DNFs, and Simon didn't go into the pits as the same as everybody else, and so he's gonna find himself P17, and so all the way in the back of the grid. Man, I don't know if Ferrari's just cursed in Division 1 this season, but whether it be Peter Giordano or another driver you put in that car, it looks like there's just constantly some bad luck going on. And I think Jakub Karsowicz is gonna be just behind the Ferrari in P18. So we're going to let the two drivers catch up to the pack, and I believe from what it looks like, we could expect the safety car to be back in this lap. So in a couple corners time, we're going to have the notice saying that the safety car is back in. Man, some drivers have been going backwards since the beginning of the race, and I'm looking at Quinton Kay currently sitting P9. I think it was slowed down possibly by the double stacking of him in retrograde. Decided to take the disadvantage of the time loss in the pits instead of going out on track again. And now he's got that double penalty, despite having maybe one of those penalties taken from him. It's still a 3-second penalty at least that will be significantly affecting his race so far. And I don't think that's, he had a really good qualifying lap in qualifying earlier, but this is not the kind of race he wants to have. And it kind of like a deja vu with in Zandvoort, where time penalties and just a race where he's been going a little bit backwards, and unfortunately that's what's going on for him. Let's go on board with Chad Swindell. We're gonna look at actually we're gonna go on board. I'm gonna change my mind. We're gonna go on board with Eric Cavallo. We're gonna have the view on the two drivers in front of him. Currently sitting P3, the Haas driver. Eric Cavallo's got an entire Haas team on his shoulders, especially in Division 1. Chad Swindell's just keeping his tires warm, and I think he's going... Oh, he's not going right away. It looked like he might be going, and there we go. So around turn 16 they go, and away they are, and Swindell gets a pretty good run on Ryan Newton. Eric Cavallo's following quite closely. He's got Cody Lawrence all over his rear. Retrograde in P5 is following as well, but so far Chad has got a great launch there. There's a position changes between Camborne and Wayden in the other Haas, so Camborne gains a position in P14. And all the drivers on the medium, so unless there's another safety car that could impact strategy, we're going to have medium tire runners all the way until the end of this race.
Yeah, I think we should hop on board with Cody Lawrence here, because he's putting massive amounts of pressure on Eric Cavallo at the moment. Very close behind him. He was trying to make the overtake, but Eric Cavallo did go defensive on his battery. Look at the gap now between Cody Lawrence and Eric Cavallo, both on the battery, and now dumping that battery. Cody Lawrence with a bit more toe, but he's backed off the battery, as has Eric Cavallo. So those positions will remain the same for now. Look in the back to see if we have any action. It doesn't look like we do. But I'll talk about Jakub Karsiewicz here because he's been, I respect the, the determination to stay in a race when you're so far behind everyone else and it just looks like there's no hope. I respect the decision to stay with everyone who's racing here, and I'm sure he's glad he has as well because he's now back in the pack, and I think he's capable of making up a few positions. So maybe we'll see that from Jakub Karsiewicz, and yeah, that's what I'm hoping to see.
Yeah, I think Karsiewicz, in this race, at least, he went to the bottom of the barrel. So once you're at that position, the only way to be looking is up, and that is it for him. And so he's currently sitting P18, and he's on the rear of Simon Carlson there, trying to get a couple positions and gain some crucial points for Red Bull for the constructors. As you're mentioning earlier, looks like Cody Lawrence is a little bit more aggressive on the battery, and I've not seen him do that very often, but Eric Cavallo definitely is keeping keen on that and defending himself on the offensive from the Mercedes driver. Next lap, after a safety car, it's only after at the beginning of the third lap that the DRS, there you go, I'll say it, the DRS is activated again, and so no DRS currently for these drivers. Cody is, like Era is a little bit more aggressive on the battery so far. Yeah, he's a little bit more halfway through the battery, and to go down they go to turn 8 there, that long left-hander, and Ryan Newton is just again on the verge of losing DRS completely to Chad Swindell, and that will be something that Eric Cavallo is going to be looking at again. But look at him, he's just on the edge as well, and so if Eric falls behind the 1 second marker as he is now to Ryan Newton, if he doesn't have DRS, he's going to have to defend against a very, very aggressive Cody Lawrence on the restart, and that is the last thing you want to have happening here. And he's got a good first corner here, and I don't know if he's gonna have DRS, and Cody Lawrence might take advantage of that. Here they go through turn 4, or out of turn 4 and going into the turn 5. Let's see if Eric gets through the detection zone within the.
And he has.
Yeah, he has. So he's gonna have DRS. Luckily for him, because Cody Lawrence was just waiting to be able to gain at that advantage, and it looks like Ryan Newton also has DRS, so these two drivers were so close to losing on DRS from each other, and they ended up getting it back just in time. And look at the time gained on that first straight. It's just about 3/10, and we're going to see probably another 3/10 being gained. Ryan Newton might be really aggressive on the battery. Is he going to go on the outside move? He is! He's trying to make the move out of on turn 9. Side by side, he goes with the Red Bull driver. Will he be able to make the move stick? He doesn't. Chad Swindell successfully defends from Ryan Newton. That is something we've seen in many, many races throughout this guy's career in DRL. A kind of driver who's not afraid to do the aggressive move, to dump in his battery, and he almost made that move stick. What a defense from Chad Swindell, as we're seeing once again a little bit of desync on my end. I don't know if it's the same for you, Nathan, but a little bit of jiggying around left and right here for Ryan Newton. But nonetheless, that was almost a great move made. But will that leave him vulnerable now to losing his position to Eric Cavallo? And that'll be something that'll be interesting to look, as we're now in lap 21 out of 29. And these guys are going to be starting to get a little bit more aggressive on their overtakes, we're seeing from the restart here. And we might be seeing a lot of action until the end of the race.
I mean, that was kind of out of nowhere from the Williams driver. He's out of 1 second now, actually. Just incredibly, I don't know, I just didn't expect Ryan Newton to be making a move at all, but when I saw him on the battery and he didn't get off it, I was like, oh, Ryan Newton is onto something here. Tried to go around the outside, kind of pressured Chad Swindell to be on the tight inside line a bit more than normal, but Chad Swindell was able to just keep on the throttle very steadily and make it through the corner just fine, and in the lead still. So good job from the Red Bull driver, but at the moment it's really about what's happening behind him is what's interesting me at the moment. Because still we have Cody Lawrence in DRS range and quite closer than anyone else at the moment. And, we talked about it, right? The DRS train, it makes it very difficult to overtake. But with a driver like Cody Lawrence, I think if he can magic up some pace, I think we'll be talking to him very soon here in the commentator's booth.
Yeah, most definitely. I think Newton put himself in a vulnerable position there, and so we might see a drop in position, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Nothing against him. This Williams driver has got incredible pace this race. Like, it's definitely a guy who's very comfortable on this track. But I'm wondering if the fact that he's spent so much battery and now is out of DRS range from the leader puts him vulnerable not only to the P3 runner but also to the P4 of Cody Lawrence. And so he's now on full defense. I'm pretty sure he's, unless there's a spectacular incident that happens once again, I think Ryan Newton's now looking behind him to defend instead of forwards to attack.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense, but as far as I'm concerned, as we've seen in this race so far, Ryan Newton isn't too much of a defensive driver. He's all about attack and pushing hard, and when he's in wheel-to-wheel situations where he has to defend, he can get a bit rocky. He's had incidents in previous instances, and other times he's just backed out of it, but we'll see what the Williams driver can do. He's got about 15% less battery than the driver behind, but I don't know. Something is telling me that after all of this, we still might be in for a Cody Lawrence win. Because, if Eric Cavallio's going to pressure Ryan Newton, and maybe Cody Lawrence can follow through on the overtake, then I think from there he'll be able to overtake Eric Cavallio with relative ease, with Aero not having the DRS advantage anymore. But I'm going on as we see a reset the track and an incident from the Haas driver. And yeah, not when you want to see a reset to track, but I don't think it'll be ticketed for it. It's a reserve driver after all.
Yeah, so
But
Wayden had a bit of a spin after turn one, so there was quite a battle and still a battle going on between Magnussen Cube, Maxton Bowyer, Marcel Paps, and I think Wayden was in the midst of it and trying to take advantage of the situation. Everybody was kind of driving a little bit slower, given the fact that they were battling one another, and now we're seeing action a little bit up front. Marc-Olivier Bastien is now P5 ahead of Retrograde. I forget if he was already there, if Retrograde was trying to battle for his position back. But that was...
Here comes Eric Cavallio here.
And Eric
Down
Cavallio,
the inside.
yeah,
He's
on
made
the
it.
inside, and he made it work. And so going into turn 9, he's got it made on Ryan Newton for the P2. Now, with 7 laps to go, will he have the pace to cut that 2-second lead from Chad Swindell? Because now Eric Cavallio is loose.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Cavallio, he's loose now, but with Cody Lawrence definitely going to be able to put some pressure on Ryan Newton now. I don't think Era has a lot of time to really be relaxed. We have another spinner, that's Kyle Blevins in the back, spins around a second time. Yeah, so I've actually had news that Wayden is a permanent driver, so my mistake on that. But we can see the gap going down already between Eric Cavallio and Chad Swindell, so I wonder, does Era maybe have some magic pace with him? He hasn't got the battery advantage, but if he can keep on making up some pace, we might be in for an absolute thrill of a finish tonight here.
Yeah, absolutely. And there it is. Ryan Newton's trying to defend from Cody Lawrence. Cody's on the DRS. He's being very conservative with the battery. You could see the red light flashing from the Williams, and so Cody knows that he's got no battery to defend himself. At the best moment to make a move work, it is over here on this second stint with DRS, but Ryan Newton also has the DRS, and so let's say Cody's going to be a little bit more patient before making a move stick here. Ryan Newton's really having that DRS really helps him defend, because he doesn't have the ERS, the battery supply, to be able to defend himself properly. And look at the gap just being created between him and Eric Cavallio. It's starting to get further and further apart. He's just at the edge of getting out of DRS range. Meanwhile, Eric Cavallio is about was 1.4 seconds, is now 1.6 seconds behind Chad Swindell, who's in the race leader, and he doesn't really have to be too hard on the battery. It looks like there's another spinner in the back. That is Cal Blevins. I think Cal Blevins is over with it. He's gonna have to just finish those final laps there, and oof, it's a struggle for him to keep on track. And he's missing a wing as well, or a portion of the wing. Looks like out of turn 9, he had a bit of an issue. Oh, what's going on?
Whoa, moment from Cody Lawrence.
Yeah, I saw that Cody
as
Lawrence
McCoy
really
Veston
slow.
gets passed.
Wow, Cody
Okay,
Lawrence
so
almost lost it.
Yeah, let's look at the gap here between Era and Chad Swindell. Last lap I noticed that the gap went down on the straights like incredibly quickly, about 0.2 per straight. Right now he hasn't gained anything from that last straight, so I wonder from this we'll be able to see any advantage gained Doesn't look like it actually now. Yeah, here comes the gap down quite a bit. But as we go through this left hairpin, look how fast the gap starts to build up again. He's just faster through this corner, like throughout, and Chad Swindell has absolutely mastered this final sector. I think we'll see in these tighter corners here that Chad Swindell will keep on gaining an advantage, maybe even get out of the 2-second range here. And yeah, just look at the gap go up. And Chad Swindell truly on a class of his own right now. He's got exact same conditions as Eric Cavallio does right now, other than the battery advantage, of course. But just absolutely amazing from the Red Bull driver right now.
Yeah, he's on it tonight and showing that Sector 3 is super important to be able to create that gap, to be away from DRS, from other drivers who probably have higher top end speeds, as we're seeing Makane Basenka out of turn 1 go a little bit further wide on the grain of turn 1. That's not the first time we see him go so wide off. I think it's a way to maybe evade the 3-second time penalties completely going off, and the game doesn't give the time penalty. That's something that might be looked at if it's happened too often during the race. Cody Lawrence is behind him, and this time Marc Olivier does not have the DRS to defend himself from Cody. Both drivers very low on the batteries. Cody going on the inside here. He's going to go side by side, wheel to wheel with Marc Olivier in the chicane out of turn 7. So he's got the better exit here. And now Marc Olivier is going to be lucky to overtake him again. Will he be able to do so? He's on the DRS. Cody's trying to defend himself using his battery, and that is a done deal for him. So he gains the position back after having a moment in turn 4 after the long right-hander. And so Cody Lawrence is back in P4. There's a bit of a battle here. I'm seeing Quentin K and Aaron Altmaier. I think Aaron Altmaier had a look into the outside of turn 9. A lot of drivers are making moves out on turn 9, and what a beautiful move we have from the overhead here as we're seeing Quentin K defending and going around. Oh, there's a spin! No. He completely loses it, and Aaron Altmaier will take that position. That's Quentin K, who triggers another spin from the Maxime Boyer, who completely got surprised by the fact that there was an Alpine completely horizontal right in front of his racing line. Oh my goodness, so that has jumbled up the order a little bit. Aaron Altmaier is P8, Quentin K tumbles to P14, and so does Maxime Boyer in P15.
I was just about to commend Maxime Boyer for keeping it straight on track, and here we are. Ah, man, that's unfortunate, because Maxime was running such a great race, and then maybe he just got distracted from the spinning Alpine ahead of him, and that's just what happens in racing here. See Cody Lawrence absolutely destroying his battery now from what was 57% just a few laps ago, now down to 3% on its own. But now Marc-Claude Bastian does have quite a bit of a battery advantage, maybe even a pace advantage, some would say. But right now it doesn't look like he'll be able to pull it all, as Cody Lawrence knows that if you dump the battery down to 0 every time you get the opportunity, you will be just a bit faster. And he seems to be doing that every time the straight comes up here. Ryan Noon still doing a good job to hold within the 1-second gap of Eric Cavallio, and that is going to prove quite crucial, I think, to his podium run here, because Cody Lawrence is very far off now, and I think we might see an amazing podium from the Williams driver. I think it'd be his first of the season, actually.
Yeah, it would definitely be, and he showed some incredible pace to begin with in this season. It's unfortunate that the race ban cost him so many points from the last race, and as we were saying, with only 2 laps to go, Cody Lawrence doesn't have the DRS, and he's a lot more defensively compared to Marc-Olivier Bastien, who looks like he's going to harvest a little bit more on his battery and maybe go for a last lap lunge on lap 29. And so that's where we're going to see a lot of action happening. And looking at the other drivers behind, we might see some mid-pack action between anywhere between Marcel Pabst down to Jakub Karsiewicz and Quentin K. I think all those drivers are looking to make their final moves on the final lap. And so keeping an eye on Marc-Olivier here, gets much closer to Cody, and Cody's just on that battery. Look at that. He's immediately on the exit of turn 7, goes on the battery, completely uses it up. And I don't think Marc-Olivier, well, he's used up a little bit to stay within him, but that's not going to happen right away. I think he'll have to make his move next lap. There's a sector flag, and that is Maxime Boyer. What's happened here? He had a moment seemingly coming out of turn 7, and so he's lost the position to Simon Colston, the reserve driver at Ferrari, who's now sitting in P15. And so that's unfortunate for Maxime Boyer. Another driver who we're used to seeing in top 10 more often than not. And I think the last couple races has been a little bit of a roller coaster for him. Magnussen Cube, the latest driver to get 3-second time penalty. He's currently sitting P10, leading quite a DRS train, and so that's going to cost him dearly in positions. And let's go back here when the final lap, and we're seeing Marcel pass with another 3-second time penalty. So the driver is getting more aggressive, and we're seeing that on the track and off the track as they're getting penalized for it. Not going to be, is he going to be able to make a move happen here, going around turn 5? Is he going to be patient, or is he going to go right on the battery? He's full on the ERS and the DRS. He's going to go for it. And here he comes. Cody Lawrence is going to keep the inside line on him. Marc-Olivier gains actually a full car's length going to the chicane. So Marc-Olivier Bastien gets P4 from the Mercedes, but it is not over yet. Will he be able to defend through Cody Lawrence? Cody's on the battery and the DRS now. Here he comes as well. Where is he going to be lucky? He's got to luck on the outside, I think, a little bit. He doesn't have the top end speed. Marc-Olivier really looks like he's going to be able to make that stick. And that is great racing from the Aston Martin driver. Eric Cavallo was under attack also by Ryan Newton a little bit, but I don't think he's going to have enough time to do so. Around turns 15 and 16 goes Chad Swindell, Sweeney G, the new replacement for Hudson Poole in the Red Bull seat. A podium last race in Zandvoort, and a win here in Abu Dhabi for Sweeney G. What a master class of a race. He gets the win, followed by Eric Cavallo, who had the win last week, and a P2 for him. So great result once again for the Haas driver. And Ryan Newton in P3. Wow, a Haas and a Williams on podium in Division 1. I am absolutely ecstatic to see that happening here. Marc-Olivier in P4, Cody Lawrence in P5. What a good race for Retrograde. Dane Clem sitting in P6 in the Alpine. Well, that's a great race for him. Unfortunately for his teammate Quentin K, he's going to finish P16. Hector Ochoa in P7. Arnold Meyer P8. Cam Bourne, his first race with the Williams, had a bit of a tangle with Luke Locklear most probably early in the race. Still finishes P9. Marcel Paps in the McLaren in P10. Magnussen Q P11, who's lost positions because of the time penalty he had. Colin Edwards and Simon Colston, two reserve drivers, sitting respectively P12 and P13. That is a great result for them. Maxim Border, who unfortunately lost many positions due to an incident, is in P15, and will go down the order for the last couple drivers, as why not? A ghosted car being driven through by an AI, as we see here. Driver of the day, Marcel Paps. Yeah, Marcel Paps finished, I believe, P10 or P11, and he had started P20. So that is a very respectful race from him for the McLaren. I think McLaren are looking quite up now, as we're just going to go check who is the rest of the finishers. Nathan, I think you're getting the interviewees ready here. So Maxim Bollier was P14, Jakub Karswich P15, Quentin K from P5 to P16, Wade and the new Haas driver sitting in P17 for a first race for him, and Cal Blevins, who actually stole the fastest lap in P18, and unfortunate DNFs for Luke Locklear and Alvarez, the reserve driver in the McLaren.
All right, it's quite a race.
Yeah. I'm gonna catch my breath a little bit here, Nathan. I'll get you ready for set up for the interviews. That was an exciting last couple laps of the race was really interesting, and I'm really curious to see what Wright and Era and Sweeney's got to tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the end there, and it looked like Ryan Newton was maybe even on for P2, but Eric Cavallo was good enough to keep him at bay. We'll wait for Ryan Newton to hop in the interview booth, but overall, I'd say this race was pretty good. It went by pretty fast relative to all the other ones that we've had this season. Next week we have Belgium, so that will definitely be a longer race. But I'm happy to see that we had some racing action near the end there between Marcel Paps, Magnussen Cube, and Kyle Blevins. It's just great driving from the trio of them. Yeah, I'd say that it was just good race overall. Got nothing else to say, I guess. Here we go. So, I don't know why Marcel Paps is here, but we are going to bring in Mr. Ryan Newton for an interview. So, here we go. Williams driver Ryan Newton, P3. How are you feeling, Ryan?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't that bad. Fine, I guess. I don't know. Felt like could have posed a better challenge for the win, but just didn't have the battery. And Swinney's his sector 3 was just, I don't know. I mean, I think he was running higher downforce than I was, and he's just way faster through there. And I don't think I had the confidence either throughout. I feel like I could have gone faster in quali and in the race, but just the nerves got to me.
Well, you talk about the nerves getting to you, Ryan. I think, given the fact that you come from a race band, so you haven't raced in 2 weeks, basically. You come in here in Abu Dhabi, you have a great qualifying, and here you are sitting in P3 in our broadcast booth for the interview. That is quite a boost in points, not only for you but also for your team, with your new teammate coming in, Cam Bourne, with that recent trade happening. What's a catalyst for you this season? Because so far you've been consistent in bringing in points to Williams. Williams are in the middle of the pack, fighting with Haas for top 4 in constructors. Do you think that's something that you're able to contribute positively to Williams?
Yeah, I hope we can continue good results. I mean, a lot of our points were coming from Quentin, but after that trade, I know I have to step up. I've been helping out with a lot of Williams stuff, but yeah, I'm happy with the result. Even though I know it could have been better, but other than that, yeah.
Fair enough. I've got no questions.
Yeah, an interesting interview. I was expecting maybe a little bit more excitement from your part for the P3 here, your first podium in Division 1 this season, but clearly you have a lot more in your system, and we're going to see that next weekend with you in Belgium. Very excited to see you there. So Ryan, thank you for the interview, and congratulations again on P3 finish.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, so our P2 man, a very humble man in the interview booth. So just a bit of a profanity warning in case things get a bit different here. But we have our man from Haas F1 team. We have Eric Cavallo for P2. How are you feeling, Era?
Hey there. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, I'm feeling great because that's more than I was expecting for this race. I hate this track. Chad was unbeatable today. I could not keep with him. I guess I just had the pace to keep with Ryan Newton. I just overtook him because he'd run out his battery, and then I made it through him because of this, or else I will not be able to overtake him. Let me see. For the qualifying, I guess I could have improved in like 1 or 2 tenths, but still will not be able for a pole, maybe a P2. And that's it. That was a great race. I think I gapped like 8 points on the championship to Cody, and it's going to be a war. It's war until the end, for sure.
Yeah, interesting take to the race, and you're in the middle of the top 5 battle, and you also got to race Cody Lawrence. At some point, he had overtaken you, and you had overtaken him. Walk us through in 30 seconds. How was your fight with Cody? And now looking forward, you're getting much closer to the championship lead, and I think that's the first time you're in that position. So how do you feel about that too?
Well, in one single straight, there's much more things going that people can have imagined. Because when Cody attacked me, I saw he was coming near me, spamming his battery. I spammed my battery. When I saw he was not improving or cutting the gap, I released my overtake button. And when he saw I stopped moving forward, he started to spam again. And that's why I say that's a lot of things happening in just one straight. That's a crucial point on the race, because if he did overtake me, it would be very hard to overtake him again, because my pace was bad today. It was not good. I don't know what happened to Cody because later because he was very, very fast. But I think the pace on the top 5 was almost the same. The speed, Chad, that was unbeatable today. I think until the end of the season, me and Cody, we will be sharing points. We will be trying to overtake each other. We will be battling a lot until the end. And that's it. I want to congratulate Chad for the race, Ryan also, and the other boys on the top 5, Cody and Mark. Mark did an awesome race. Congrats to Mark also.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time, Era. That was Eric Cavallo, our P2 finisher this race. And we'll see you next week in Belgium.
Thank you guys. See you next week.
All right, good insight as always. But now we have our main man, the winner of tonight's race. It is none other than Red Bull driver Chad Swindell, his third race and his third podium, but his first win. How is it feeling, Chad? Here.
Oh, it feels great. I'm excited. That was really good.
Chad, Swinny G. I know your teammates call you that now. How does this first win feel? Division 1. You know, okay, you're replacing Hudson Poole, who is our 3-time championship in Division 1.
Yeah.
I mean, there's almost no pressure on your shoulders, right? And I'm saying this sarcastically, obviously. So, what is the emotions going through right now? How are you feeling with this race? And how is your team principal also supporting you through that?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good. I wouldn't say that I really feel too much pressure. I mean, they brought me on 4 races into the season, so it's gonna be like really difficult to make a huge impact. So I think I'm just kind of seeing what I can do, and Duncan is really happy with it. I would hope, and yeah, it's been really good.
Yeah, so I was just watching your pace through the entire 2 sessions. I mean, qualifying was easy pole position, even though you spun on the final lap. I don't know if you were improving at all, but even in the race, you seemed to be so clear. And specifically in sector 3, that was where you were the quickest. So setup-wise, was it more high downforce here?
Yeah. So what I had discovered in testing was low downforce setup is obviously really good in sector 2, but sector 3 and 1, I was either too unstable or just flat out slow. So I decided to do the high downforce setup, with the goal being that in sector 3 and 1, I would separate enough time so that once the DRS zones came, they wouldn't be close enough to catch up by the end of turn 9 or start of turn 9.
Right. Obviously, tonight wasn't the best of Cody Lawrence's race here. What's your expectations for next weekend, which is a very, very popular and important race in Belgium?
Yeah, so I usually really like Belgium, but I'm actually going on vacation starting tomorrow morning and then not getting back till Sunday night. So I will have 0 practice. So I'm hoping that I can at least get maybe a top 5 or something, but it's unlikely.
Really interesting to see, and we'll put you up to that next weekend. Chad Swindell, our race winner here in Division 1 CRL. Congratulations again.
All right, thank you.
I swear that guy's gonna win it next weekend, even though he says he's not gonna make top 5.
It's always the drivers who don't practice, who just get in the race, put in a setup, and somehow win magically, right? I don't know if it's because the other drivers just over practice maybe a little bit when you overthink certain things, but it seems like when you just hop in a car and just go with the feeling of it, you don't really think too much and you just focus on driving the car. So maybe there's something to that. Man, Nathan, what are your predictions and what's your feeling about Belgium for next weekend?
Well, I mean, Belgium is a very tricky track overall. I mean, one of the longest, I think, of the whole calendar. Lots of elevation changes, a lot of places to get it wrong. So I think it'll be better for most drivers here since it's such a common track to race at. So I think we'll see very good competition throughout that race. In terms of top three, I'll ask you your top three after this as well. I'd say Cody makes a bit of a return here. He wins it. Then after him, I think, yeah, like I said, even though he said he's not going to be top five, I think Chad will still find a way onto the podium. And a man who's been strong and a man who's been very strong in inside as well, Eric Cavallo, I think he'll return to the podium. But other than that, it's just going to be a very crucial race for many of these teams who have lost a lot of points this weekend, actually, such as Ferrari. They're now down to 10th, I think, in the standings, and that is last. So, going to need to make a comeback in Division 1. But yeah, your predictions for the top three next weekend here?
Oh, that's an interesting one, Nathan. Look, I love a feel-good story, right? And I think at some point there is a guy out there on the track that his luck is going to turn around and he's finally get the points he deserves. I'm actually going to call a podium for Luke Locklear. I don't know if he's listening to the stream, but I'll clip it and send it to him. I think he's the kind of guy who could just pull out a crazy good race. I was about to say out of his rear, but you know what? It's said already on the stream, so he could definitely pull it out and get ready for a spot. I think this is one of his good tracks as well. P2, I'm thinking Era is definitely going to be up there again, and he probably will be fighting for the win. But I agree. I think Cody... I know Cody warned us last week that it was maybe not his favorite track or his best track, but I know that knowing that Haas is getting closer and closer to him in the championship, I think that's going to kickstart him, and he's going to have a very dominant race in Belgium. Probably not the best qualifying, but once he's going to be on the track for the race, I think that's where it's going to be. So yeah, my top threes, that's what it's going to be. We're going to have a Cody, Era, and Luke podium.
All right, well, that is a great prediction indeed. I believe we might have a special form of qualifying in Belgium, do we? Never mind. So it's just going to be the short qualifying in the race, no sprint or anything. The next type of race that we have there is in Austria, and that will be a sprint race. But after Belgium, we have a Mother's Day break, so
Yep.
a bit of time to just relax with your family, compliment your mom, get her a gift or something like that.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, we just got to look towards Belgium here, and even Miami that we have in real life here. But if you're a Ferrari fan, then that's just not going to go well for you. But I haven't got too many other words for you tonight.
Yeah.
John Ranger, anything to add on at that?
No, that is it for us tonight. For those who were watching, thank you for watching. Do not forget to like and subscribe as usual. The more likes we got, the more viewers we get on the YouTube channel, and the better things are. Don't forget to interact with us as well through the live chat, and then the next couple races we're going to keep having team engineers, team principals, and free interviews, so we could eventually implement some live questions from the public for our team principals, and so that'll be things we'll be discussing and looking at in the future weeks. We're approaching the next couple weeks with more content, hopefully the more interactive contents with our viewers as well. And that is it. Nathan, again, thank you for sharing the booth with me as always. Consistent week in and week out. And to all our viewers, I'm going to bid you good night.